Now starting, all attendees are in listen-only mode.
Alcor is pleased to welcome you all to today's webinar. Alcor is a global cloud advisory and implementation services company serving Fortune 500, government agencies, and other leading organizations in multiple industry verticals across the Americas, Canada, and India. Alcor is a ServiceNow Gold Services and Silver Sales partner. We partner with leading technology companies, including FireEye, Microsoft, Dell, Incorda, MuleSoft, and BigPanda. We advise leading businesses on cloud platforms, architecture, enterprise service management, and integrating IT service delivery. We also provide business process consulting to capture, re-engineer, and improve processes that can easily be automated to deliver real value. The Alcor consulting team has excellence in business strategy, cloud technology, and organizational change management. Our ongoing webinar series is designed to inform, enlighten, and start discussions within your own organizations. If you require any additional information after listening to today's webinar, please reach out to us through our website, www.alcortech.com. Today's webinar is also on social media. You can follow, comment, and get regular updates for today's webinar with the hashtag AlcorWebinar. That's hashtag or number sign ALCORWEBINAR. We have time reserved at the end of the webinar for Q&A, so please feel free to type any questions into the questions section. Today's webinar topic is Discover New Ways Customer Service Can Work at Lightspeed, an Alcor demonstration of customer service management in ServiceNow, presented by Shea Laughlin. Shay is a senior solution consultant with Alcor Solutions and has over 10 years of experience in IT operations and ITIL. Additionally, Shay has over 6 years of experience with ServiceNow as a former customer at Target and Best Buy. At Best Buy, Shay was responsible for the rollout, support, ongoing development, and management of the ServiceNow operations team. After Best Buy, Shay transitioned to work for ServiceNow as a solution consultant supporting clients with various activities like product demonstrations, technical questions, and road mapping. I will now turn the webinar over to Shay.
Thanks, Jeff. So today we're going to have a continuation of our customer service management series. Last webinar, we briefly went over a high-level overview of what customer service management is. Here I have that up on the screen as well. And today we're going to take a deeper dive into how customer service management can help you as an organization provide better customer service, take a look at customer satisfaction scores, and also better your processes to serve your customers. In a lot of different ways, we're going to talk about how we can do that via the portal, also with case management. So just as a refresher, the CSM application enables you to provide service and support for your external customers through various communication channels, which we're going to take a look at today, such as web, email, chat, telephone, etc. We can also offer a personalized self-service experience. And with that, you're able to take a look at various knowledge articles, cases, etc. So that way you can go to that one portal to get the assistance that you need. So the overall vision for customer service management, once again, high level, is you want to make it easy for your customers to engage with you as a business or as an organization. In order to reduce some of the overhead, you may want to also enable more of a self-service model, which could in turn reduce cases as well. So for example, through knowledge management, maybe your customers can take a look at knowledge articles before creating that case, so thus reducing that case volume. Additionally, you may have the Internet of Things, event management, or other proactive measures to get events into your system. So maybe you can get some insight as to what's occurring before your customers are impacted, thus resolving the issue. Additionally, you want to make it easy for the folks that are going to be working on these cases. So maybe it's through mobile or the native UI as to how can I work on this? How can I update that customer or that client? And then eventually at the end of the day, we want to prevent future calls. So in our last webinar, we discussed how customer service management can tie into the ITSM or IT service management solution within ServiceNow. So being able to create those various incidents, problems, and changes. So with problem management, we can identify that root cause, and then through change management, we can make that change to hopefully resolve the problem and stop those issues from happening again. And just as a refresher, here we're taking a look at the customer service management processes over on top of the IT service management processes. So once again, taking into account and being able to rely on those other areas of the platform to tie in and resolve those cases. And then off to the left, all of those different opportunities or different areas for your clients or customers to engage. And like I said, we're just going to do a high-level overview. And right now, we're just going to dive right into the demo. So from here, we have a great example of what your portal could look like. Now, today, as you're watching this, or if you're watching the replay online, today is Valentine's Day. So I went ahead and did a quick mock-up of what a portal could look like for maybe a flower shop. So here we have Alcor flowers, and it looks like today we're having some slowness or latency with processing our Valentine's Day orders, as we can see by that notification or announcement at the top. This is one of the new features that was introduced within the Kingston release of Customer Service Management. So now you can have these different banners at the top to notify your end users or your customers of, hey, something's going on. And we're going to see, we have a couple different examples here of how you might want to utilize this. So today, we're just alerting our customers that, hey, we deeply apologize, but we're a bit behind on our processing. And from here, you can see that we have the same options as we did last time. So we can register as a customer. And once you register, you might get additional options as to taking a look at your orders, your order history, etc. And when we register, once again, this form can be configured, but here we have a simple form to register as a new user. So very similar to what you might see when you're registering for a Google account or something else or another online retailer. So everything from your first name, last name, and to the ID that you'd want to use. I'm not going to sign up today. We're going to log in as another user later on, but I just wanted to show that it could be a very simple form for you to sign up. Additionally, you may want to utilize live chat. And live chat is something that you can take advantage of whether you're an anonymous user or if you're also a logged in user. So this is a great way to utilize that. So from here, we can see that we have the form. Now, I happen to be in full screen, so that's why it popped up as full screen, but I just jumped out real quick. So now we can see that as a pop-up window instead. So here, very similarly, fill out the quick form and we can interact. Once again, I'm going to show you chat in a little demo later on. So as we go back to the home screen here, once again, as that user, we can now take a look at what is it that I need assistance with. Maybe I want to check out the frequently asked questions. So how long does it take to get my order? How long does it typically take to process? How do I get a refund? Some examples there. You may want to ask other customers. So within the Kingston release of ServiceNow, there's also the concept of communities. So now you can start interacting with other individuals within the community. You can start asking questions. You can start taking a look at other people's questions and answers. So very similar to Stack Overflow or other forums such as Google, where you can seek the answers that you need. Additionally, you may have order issues. So you may want to open up a case. And down here at the bottom, you're going to notice that I just copied this from the other portal. Thus, we have some of the other items down here that are not flower related or Valentine's Day related, but I still wanted to show that as well. So maybe the most viewed knowledge articles, recent discussion topics, or popular support questions. Once again, trying to deflect the creation of cases, chats, phone calls to your support team in order to help that end user or that customer resolve their issue before having to pick up the phone. So now, once again, this is just an example of how you may want to change the branding, but I'm going to switch to a different tab, and now we're going to take a look at more of the IT related. So once again, here we see that we have an outage. So utilizing that notification system to say, hey, maybe you don't want to create that case anyways. But from the portal perspective, I'm going to log in as George. And now that I'm logged in as George, you're going to notice I have a few options at the top here. I also get some inclination as to, hey, I have some notifications. So what's going on? Once again, very similar to your normal ServiceNow experience, I can take a look at the cases that are created for me or my company, what assets are assigned to me, and so forth. But first, I'm going to take a look at notifications here. So I have one resolved case. There's a current publication here. And this happens to be release notes with some links to other areas of the platform. I can see that I have cases awaiting info. So I need to get back to the customer support person so they can resolve my issue. And from here, I can go in and start providing that information. And this might be the day in the life experience of some of your customers. So you'll notice as soon as I provided an update here, the details switch from awaiting info to back to in-flight. And we can take a look at that again here as that other case went away, and now we have this one here. So case 732, let's open that up again. And just to point out, we can see awaiting info, but as soon as I provide that update, ServiceNow is going to kick that back to in progress. So we'll do a quick verification, and now we're back to in progress. And as we're making these updates and changing the status of things, we're going to notice that our notifications are decrementing. So they're decreasing. We first had 4, now we have 2. So once again, ServiceNow is providing that single system of action for me to take a look at what's going on, what information do the customer support people need from me, but also I may need some assistance as well. So if we jump back to the portal itself, once again, you may want to do that search of maybe for an order. And from here, we can take a look at creating a case for an order, maybe configuring the router and so forth, but you may have other items here that can pull up. And this can pull from the knowledge article. You can also have the concept of service catalog. So requesting new things via the service catalog. But once again, we're just going to go through the various areas here. So knowledge management. This is a great way to do some initial deflection of enabling your customers to help themselves. So from a knowledge perspective, we have various categories off to the left. And depending on the nature of your business, these categories will probably be different. But it's an intuitive way for your customers to find the knowledge articles that reflect the issue that they may have. So once again, this is a little bit IT related, but maybe I just got some new internet service. How do I set up my broadband router? So from here, I can go step by step. And the nature of the knowledge article is really dependent upon how you want to configure it. And by that, I mean, you can have just text that we have here. You may want to embed some images or video as well. So you can make this an interactive experience for your customers. Scrolling down, we can get some additional options as well. So as we scroll down to the bottom of the knowledge article, we can say, was this helpful, was this not? We can even add comments. And all of these pieces of feedback that I'm providing are enabling the knowledge stewards or the knowledge management team or the folks that manage this knowledge article the ability to take a look at the rankings, if the feedback was helpful or not, to then make changes. So maybe the knowledge article should be retired and a new one should be created. Or maybe it's something as simple as just updating step 5. So there's a lot of different options here. So once again, taking a look at knowledge management to help myself. But maybe that didn't work. I can always take a look at the community. So maybe someone else is having the same issue that I am. So from here, I can take a look. I can search for issues with broadband routers or setup. Before I do, I'm going to scroll down. And we're going to take a look at some of the ongoing issues. So here we can see, how do I remote desktop into a Windows machine on a Mac? I've actually had that question before. How do I test my VPN? So I can take a look and I can see how many views there are, how many replies. So maybe I have a response to this. I can type in my reply. I'm not going to be overly verbose today, so we'll just put a quick answer there. I can also subscribe to certain issues. So you can see I'm subscribed here. I can also unsubscribe, so I can get email notifications or updates as this thread progresses. We also have the option to upvote or downvote, say if things are helpful. And you may have noticed on the home page here there was a way for gamification. So I could easily take a look at, hey, maybe I want to make a game out of this. Very similar to the ServiceNow community. So the more things that you reply to, the more times you have helpful answers, the more points you get. So let's take a look back at the homepage of the community here, and we can see that leaderboard. Coincidentally, I happen to be in the lead, but I bet you very soon George will overtake me. But once again, this is a great way for your customers to take a look at some of the issues, recommendations. It could be just about anything. Maybe it's tips and tricks as to how to do something. Going back, we can also get help. So let's say the knowledge management part didn't help me, so the knowledge articles, I asked the community, I still couldn't get the help that I needed. So from here, we may end up creating a case. So very similar to incident management, now I can start selecting what it is that I need assistance with. I'm going to start with the product here. So let's go ahead and say we're having issues with web analytics. That's not tied to a specific asset per se, but I can still choose the product. We're going to say we're high priority. And if I wanted to, maybe I have an error message. I could always attach an error message to this to help that support person out. So right now I'm going to submit this. And now we're going to have that brand new case up at the top here. So case 26. And I can go directly to that just to see where we're at. So I'm going to help push this along. Maybe I'm a very disgruntled person and I want to get this resolved as soon as possible. So now I can interact with the person that's going to be assigned to this or working on it to get some information. We're going to step into this one a little bit later, but now let's take a look at live chat. So this is going to pop up in a window just like this because I'm in full screen mode. As always, let's go ahead and fix that. Let's try live chat again. So now we have that modal window. You can see that I have some previous closed conversations, so previous issues, and now I can start a new one. Let's go with router keeps rebooting. And once again, the nature of your business is going to dictate what your customers are going to be calling in about or chatting about. So now I'm going to connect and we're going to see that we're waiting for the agent. So right now, George is just in this chat queue waiting. We can see that the average wait time is about 57 seconds. And this is based upon the previous historical chats. So right now, I'm going to switch into a different window and we're going to take a look at what this looks like from the person doing the work. So right now I'm logged in as myself and I happen to be on the customer service management team. So here I can either load it in through the connect queue itself, or I could take a look at the chat within my normal view of ServiceNow. So there's a couple ways to accept these various chats. I'm going to do it through connect itself. And from here, I can start interacting with George. So first I need to accept. So I'm going to be the person taking this on. And now George and myself can go back and forth as to what George needs assistance with. And just to show, we can see that here's my brand new chat that came through. Hi, George, how can I help you? And now we can keep going about our merry way with this chat. But there's a few things that we can take advantage of, and there's some bells and whistles that may be able to provide you some better support for George. As you can see, George has quite the conundrum. So let's bounce back and start helping George. So as I'm in this window, I have access to the knowledge base. So maybe I have knowledge articles that could help me with this specific issue. Now, I doubt I have anything for routers that are about to start on fire, but I can go in here and take a look at some of these knowledge articles. And here's that how to set up a broadband router. Maybe there's something useful here. At any rate, I now have access to knowledge that I can then help George with. So I can scroll through this. I can take a look if this is what George needs. And, you know, maybe it is. So a couple ways of doing this, but I'm just going to go ahead and click and drag this over to the chat. And now George is going to be able to see this. So by flipping back, George now has access to this knowledge article saying how to set up a broadband router. So another way to share information via chat. Additionally, as we jump back, I'm going to hide our knowledge base here, is I can still be helping George, and you know what? Maybe I can't help him. So by clicking on the hamburger icon, there's a couple options. One, we can transfer this to another support analyst or technician. So maybe one of my peers knows how to help a router that's almost going to catch on fire. Or I can create a case. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a brand new case. And by doing so, you're going to get that new case up off to the side here, and we can start populating this. So here, since George is logged in, we already know a little bit about him. So this came in through chat. George is part of the Boxio account. So like I said, we know a little bit about him. We may want to tie this to a specific product or asset. So let's take a look at this Acme one. And you're going to notice that it pre-populated the product. You may have an affected CI. So once again, utilizing the configuration management database. And once again, since we have that information, we can load the dependency map for the CMDB. So since we selected the specific CI, now the scenario that we have is that the router is almost on fire, but let's say it was having latency issues, or there were some ups and downs, what have you. Maybe it's not the router itself, but maybe it's some underlying piece of infrastructure. Maybe it's a load balancer or something like that. So now we can use the dependency map to have a more targeted approach of troubleshooting. And very common, you can populate this in multiple ways, but one of the most common ways is through ServiceNow discovery. So building those relationships and so forth. So jumping back, we're now starting to build out this case. So this might look good right about now. I may want to add some additional notes, what have you, but I think we're good. Let's submit this. And now submitting this, you're going to notice that we have that brand new case. Additionally, George is going to see that on his side. George is going to provide his update, and we'll end the chat. So just a quick demo of some of the chat functionality. And once again, this was all started from that customer service portal. So through the portal, you can either create the case via the form, you can initiate a chat, but giving your customers a different way to communicate. Some may just want to do chat while they're watching Netflix, or maybe they're in the office and they're multitasking. So a couple different ways. Jumping back, we can see that this chat is now done, but let's go into the record itself. So let's go take a look at this specific case. So maybe I was a little bit bothered that I wasn't able to help George. I'm going to get some more screen real estate here. So now as we're looking at this case, once again, we have that information. This came in via chat. We know George's account information and so forth. But now I can start doing some more advanced troubleshooting. On the top here, you're going to see that we have this timeline. So we can see George made a few comments. We can see the last action as well, and the time with the agents and with the customer. So going through this, I'll add some updates here. And as always, I could add some more notes to George. And George is either going to get these via an email, or if he's on the portal, he'd see these via the portal as well. All right, so now I'm just continuing to work on this. And we're going to see some of these updates transpire in the activity field here. But scrolling down, we're going to see some of the previous history. So some of that chat activity that we saw. All of this is being tracked and managed. Scrolling down to the bottom, we have some additional items. So here, since this is a priority 3 or 4 resolution, we have an SLA for 5 days, but we could always change that. So if I were to change this to a priority 1, we would cancel this SLA out or the service level agreement to get a new one. So let's change this to a P2 and let's find out what happens. So first of all, we're going to see that in the activity that we changed that priority. And then scrolling down, we can see that our original SLA was canceled, and now that way we have a priority 2. We could always create some additional tasks. So maybe I need some help from other team members. I could create tasks for them to help out. We can see some of the communications that are being sent out. So George is getting some email saying, okay, we opened this initial case for you. We also added some additional comments. Additionally, we can see some additional cases from George. So maybe he's having chronic issues with his routers. Maybe he's called in about 5 routers that are about to catch fire, and maybe we just need to ask the question of, hey, where are your routers located? Is there any ventilation in the room that they're in? That might help us out. Additionally, let's say it's something that we need to fix internally. I could always create a new incident or relate this to an incident on our IT service management side. Additionally, maybe we don't know what the root cause is. We can then create a brand new problem record. And let's go ahead and create that right now. And for me, routers catching on fire is probably going to be a priority 1 issue. And let's assign that to our network team. So now that we're creating this, once again, this is all part of the customer service management case, but we're relating it back to those ITIL processes. And from a customer perspective, they really don't care that, hey, this is broken. I just want to be up and running as soon as possible. So scrolling down, we can take a look and see that problem is now related. So now we have full traceability of what's going on here. Additionally, you may have special handling notes as part of this case or this customer or this individual. So thus saying, what should I do if an urgent issue is reported? What happens if it's a VIP account, etc. So there's a lot of different things that I can take advantage of here. But right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this some more. So we're going to assign this to me. We're going to notice that that's getting populated. We're also building out this timeline. So there's a couple things that I can do here. Another aspect of customer service management is you may want to interact with your users via telephone. So a great example of this is utilizing the Twilio integration in the customer service management application. We can have a soft phone within the platform. So what I'm going to do is you're going to notice that I have a phone icon up here. So I could call people, but I want to do it directly from the case. So next to George's name, I have this phone icon. And from here, I have his information, and I can dial his mobile phone or his business phone. So right now, I'm going to do a call. And coincidentally, my phone is going to pop up saying that the ServiceNow Customer Service Management team is trying to contact me. But I'm going to go ahead and send that to voicemail. And we should see that this is canceled out. Now, ServiceNow is going to track all of these calls. It can also track the duration, etc. So I want to hang up just because that's probably going to leave a voicemail. So as I end that call, you're going to notice that my status is in wrap-up mode. So that way I can update the ticket with all of my information, and when I'm ready to be available again, I can switch to available. So now I'm going to do a quick refresh here. And if we go to the activity feed, we're going to notice that we have an outgoing call. So we can see that was for 22 seconds. Additionally, at the very bottom, we're going to notice on the phone tab here on the related list, we can see who we're trying to contact. Now, the contact name should be George, but I happen to use that number for a lot of different things, including Joe. So you're going to see Joe's name associated there. At any rate, ServiceNow is tracking all of this information. Additionally, since we're doing outbound calling, maybe you want to do inbound calling as well. So ServiceNow does have an integration with Twilio, as we stated, but you can do inbound calling. So if you want a call tree, you could say, I'm going to call this number, 1-800-what-have-you. Press 1 to create a new case, press 2 to check the status. ServiceNow can help facilitate that. As we're working through this, George may become, let's say, very disgruntled. So we can escalate this case. So if George called in saying, hey, I'm not happy, we can say, okay, was it the customer that requested this, or was it an internal escalation? So I could be proactive about it. But let's say George called in, very unhappy with this. What's the reason? Maybe it's lack of progress. Once again, these options are configurable. We'll provide a reason. And now we can submit that escalation. And we're going to see that as a status as well. So scrolling down, here we have that escalation. We can see it's already been approved and ongoing. But additionally, you may have something on your dashboard for escalated cases. So if we take a look at the overview section for customer service management, you may have something for escalation here. Now, I currently don't at the moment. However, I do have a section here for escalated cases. And right now we can see 2 of those. And maybe you have a different notification process or standard operating procedure for those escalations. I'm going to go back into case 27 here. And right now, as we continue to work on this, let's propose the solution for this customer. So now as we continue to work on this, I'm just going to say propose solution. Let's see what happens. Looks like I need to fulfill some required fields here. So I need to specify that solution in the close notes. Let's go here. Maybe I don't know the cause just yet, but we can go ahead and put some information for George here, and let's propose that solution. All right. Now we're going to notice, we look at to the very right here, that this is currently in resolved. George will also get a notification saying, hey, we resolved your issue. Do you accept this solution or not? Let's take a look at what George sees. So let's do a quick refresh here. And I think I'm on a different ticket. Yep, this is our web analytics. Let's go back to all of George's cases here. We'll sort by when it was last updated. And here's our router keeps rebooting. And now, once again, we're going to see that we can either accept or reject this solution. George isn't going to be happy, so he's going to reject the solution, and this will now get kicked back to me. So coming back full circle, do a quick refresh. It's no longer resolved, it's an opened. Let's take a look at what's going on. And along the way, we're still moving along in our timeline here. So now we can see when George kicked that back to me. Taking a look at our notes, we can see exactly what's going on here. And once again, we can start the troubleshooting process. We'll propose the solution once again. Now, of course, you're probably going to put something a little bit more applicable and take a look. George can now accept that solution. And now, as George accepted the solution, he's now presented with a customer satisfaction survey. So immediately after accepting the solution, you can get that customer feedback. We can see that it's currently in reference to this case. If George forgot about it, you can see it's a hyperlink. We can continue and taking a look at what were those specific issues. But let's go ahead and get started with this survey. Once again, these questions can be configurable, but they'll also help populate some of your reporting. So overall, how satisfied am I? Well, if I remember correctly, George was a little bit disgruntled. So we'll continue with saying that he strongly disagrees with the support that he received. Were these people well trained? Did they adhere to professional standards of conduct, etc.? Once again, these are going to help populate some of the dashboards. We did not have to interact with the customer service manager. And how would you rank this person? Or how likely are you going to recommend the service? So thus tying back into your customer satisfaction or CSAT. Let's submit this. And now George is done submitting that survey. Jumping back, we can go to our dashboard and take a look at what's going on with our overview section. So right now we're looking at the Service Manager dashboard, but let's take a look at the customer service one. And here we can see our average customer satisfaction. If I remember correctly, that went down. And if we take a look here, George has not been a happy camper, where he was on one day, but now he's ranking us as 1 based upon those average scores. So now you're able to get that instant feedback as to your customer service process, what kind of service are you providing, and then hopefully have that continual service improvement process to get back up and running if needed. But once again, all of these different interactions are within the platform, so now you can take action, you can measure them, and then of course course correct if needed, or just continue providing great service. So right now I'd like to call it good on the demo portion, and we'll just briefly go back to our PowerPoint just to quickly revisit the CSM vision. So throughout today's demo, we went through the various self-service portals that you could take advantage of, doing some of that self-help, taking a look at knowledge articles, etc. So thus reducing some of that case volume with self-service. Jumping into taking a look at how do we assign those different items, how do we interact with them, what kind of notifications are going to happen. And then in step 5, preventing future calls, we did create that problem. We didn't go through the problem management process, but of course you'd fulfill that, identify the root cause, and hopefully stop any additional issues from happening again through there. And once again, why CSM? Well, the results should speak for themselves. So you eventually want to decrease customer service costs. You want to increase productivity for your various agents. You want to have a high CSAT score. So being able to report based upon those surveys and being able to course correct as needed. All the way through cost savings, higher customer retention. But once again, everything is within the ServiceNow platform. So you have that single support system, once again, bridging the gap between ITSM and customer service management, but then also having that single reporting system. And we showed a lot of the hows. So whether that's through the portal, chat, taking a look at the real-time health of things, automating things through workflow. So that could be the automation of tasks or even resolution. So as we started talking about event management, maybe you have some orchestration activities that auto-resolve issues. So thus, getting your customers up and running without them actually knowing it. So with that, I'd like to open it up for any questions that we may have today and address those.
Awesome.
So I'll hand it over to you, Jeff.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Shay. Great demo. Yeah, there are a few questions. I'll get to them here in just a moment. As a reminder, please use the question section to ask Shay a question on today's topic. So number 1, what's the benefit to using a CSM portal versus the regular service portal?
Interesting question. So a lot of our clients typically roll out IT service management with the normal service portal. And the normal service portal is really meant for your internal organization, so not really publicly facing. So with customer service management, that enables you to not only have your internal IT portal or legal service management portal, what have you, but to also have a separate portal for your customers of the business that you provide or the services that you provide. So one, it's publicly facing, but also you could do the login version of it or even the anonymous version of it. There's some benefits to each. Hopefully that addresses the question.
Okay, so that actually probably answers another question that came in. With the CSM, can we have external customers use ServiceNow to submit tickets, record producer, without logging in?
Correct. So with the customer service management application, you can have that anonymous interaction. So that'd be its own separate portal potentially, but then you may also want to do chat. But back to the question is, yes, you would be able to initiate a case, with that form and that anonymous portal.
Got it. Okay. Are the ServiceNow portals mobile friendly?
Yes. So the neat thing about the portals themselves, and actually I might be able to show an example of this. So if I deviate back to an example here, so they're responsive in design. So I can click and drag and we can see how this changes. So by going to this URL within your mobile device, you'd see a scaled down version of it. So out of the box, they are mobile friendly.
Okay, great. Is there a limit to the quantity and types of portals I can have?
Theoretically, no. So ServiceNow will let you create as many portals as you would like. The caveat that I'll throw out there in the recommendation is just a reminder that the more portals that you have, the more administrative overhead you might have as well. So thus, if you have 10 portals, that's 10 portals to maintain. So I would just be cognizant of that and the level of effort to maintain those if needed. But no, ServiceNow does not limit you.
Yeah, good point. Okay, is there a way for the system to provide an answer as to why the router isn't working? So this, I guess, going back to the your example in the demo, instead of waiting for a chat person to connect.
So potentially, and the reason I say potentially is if we go back, I'm just going to go back a couple slides here. So as we talk about the Internet of Things and ServiceNow orchestration and some of the integrations that you might have, is ServiceNow could potentially reach out to that router, run a query to see if it's up and running. Are there any current issues? Is there something wrong with it? And provide those diagnostics back as an attachment, let's say as a text file. So there is the option to do that. But now we're talking about a couple different technologies, but it is feasible.
Okay.
So instead of that person waiting, yeah, you could do some of that automation through workflow and orchestration.
Cool. All right. Is it possible to only offer a survey to a customer based on the way you coded the call?
So we could put in a different trigger point, if you will. So within the case itself is maybe as part of the close notes, similar to incident management, maybe you have a close code or something. It could be a checkbox, anything for that matter. You may want to trigger a survey based upon that selection, and that's feasible. So I think that's what was being asked, is different surveys based upon how the case form was filled out on resolution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is it possible to only offer a survey to a customer based on the way you coded a call? Yeah, I think that answers that.
Yeah, so just be a different trigger point.
Yeah. Thumbs up from Richard on that one. So that answered the question. Perfect. All right. That's it for questions. We'll just give it another second here. Nope, that looks like that's it for questions. All right. Good job, Shay. Thanks, everyone. The recording of today's webinar will be available on our website, www.alcortech.com, and on our social media networks. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Oh, I got a new question. How can it work with my existing? How can this, or can this be integrated, or does this work with Salesforce?
So we've had quite a few clients that want to integrate ServiceNow with Salesforce. Might need to know a little bit more about the scenario, but just as a general example is you may be using Salesforce today for customer service management. We could integrate the two platforms together, where if you create a case in Salesforce, it could integrate with an incident or problem within ServiceNow, or we could flip it around where if you create a case within ServiceNow, you may want to relate that to the company or client record or customer record within Salesforce and pass information back and forth. So it's really dependent upon the scenario, but that integration is feasible.
Okay, good. Excellent. And John says thank you. So that answered the question. Perfect. Good stuff. All right. Well, we'll try this again. We'll have a recording of this webinar on our website, www.alcortech.com, and on our social networking sites. Thanks everyone for joining. See you at the next webinar.